welcome to Should I Buy This Game featuring Undergrove. My name is Christine, and in this video I'll give you an overview of how the game is played and then share a few things I might like or dislike about the game to help you decide if you want to add Undergrove to your collection. This is the game Undergrove, and in this game you will play as a mature Douglas fir tree in the Pacific Northwest of North America. Your goal is to establish seedlings and help them successfully grow into trees. So I'm going to start by going over the different actions you can take during your turn. And the first one is activate. So activating is collecting off a tile that's already in place. So for example, we want to activate this one. What we need to do is turn over our mushroom. I have to add 1 carbon. And then in return, I get to receive 2 nitrogen, 2 phosphorus, and everybody else also gets to receive a nitrogen. And we'll be needing these to do other activities. And that is all there is to activate. Now to reproduce, this allows you to put down your little seedling and a root. You also have the option of adding a mushroom tile. And let's just look at a few here. These offer different advantages, such as this one offers the different nutrients, plus you get to turn over these tiles if you've already used them. So that's a very good one. This one offers you to put an additional root down when you partner. And this one just allows you to turn over 2 tiles, but then take another action. So there's a lot of different actions you can take. These would all be activated when you activate. So say we want to place this one and we're going to reproduce. To reproduce, we have to pay 1 carbon and 2 phosphorus. Now, if I want to add the mushroom tile, I would then pay another one of my choice. So I'm going to pay nitrogen. And I want to add this one. I also get to add a seedling and a root. So maybe I will place this over here where I have been placing some tiles, and I could place the tree there and then the root here. Now it's important to put your root on tiles you want to activate. If you do not have a root there, you cannot take that action when you activate. And the other thing is on the bottom, it will show you how many points the tile will be worth if you have a root there and a carbon, which we will talk about shortly. Another thing you can do is partner, and this is when you just add roots to your little seedlings that are already there. Again, you can add a tile. Now, because we added one, we will take one. We always have 3 tiles. So here it costs a carbon and 2 potassium. And then I can pay an additional cube to add another mushroom out. Now, so we look through and maybe I want to add this one. So it's ongoing. I get to add a 3rd root when I partner. So I could add this here. And I currently have 2 roots, so I can put one here, but I can put the other one wherever I want. So you can see I have this seedling, I have one up here and one here. So maybe I will put one here. And this allows me to copy any of that type of mushroom and pay the carbon cost here. Now that's important because normally you do not pay carbon onto this mushroom. So if you were surrounded by mushrooms that didn't have carbon, it's a way to get carbon onto this mushroom, which we are about to talk about now. And that is absorbing. And absorbing is the most important thing you can do in this game. So to absorb, you can turn over any of these tiles. So say I turn over this one. I can pay any of the nutrients. And then over here, what we're doing is moving a carbon onto our seedling. Now, the reason why this is important is this is how we gain points. 2 carbon allow me to score 2 of my roots. Once I get a 3rd carbon, that is when I add a tree, and that would allow me to score all 4 of the roots. If a seedling here doesn't have carbon, you don't score at all. So you need to get these carbons onto your seedlings where you want to score points. Now, the other important thing is when we come over here, every time you absorb, you move your way up this track. So the first time you would get some nitrogen. This time you could get a bonus such as carbon, potassium, or a point. Maybe I will take the potassium. And I would just put one onto my board. Now, once somebody makes it to the end, that is how the game ends. So you have to be watching your opponents as they're moving up here and you're moving up here. Because you see, each time you go, you're getting closer to the end of the game. So that is why absorbing is so important. It helps you receive the points at the end of the game, and it also triggers the end of the game. Now, the last thing you can do is photosynthesize. And every time you photosynthesize, you automatically get 2 carbon. However, you also have the option of trading in your nitrogen for carbon. So I could get 2 more carbon. And the other good thing is you automatically turn over all of your tiles back to the ready. And basically, those are the 5 things you can do. You activate, you absorb, reproduce, partner, and then photosynthesize. Now down here, we also have little gold tiles. This one, each time you make 6 carbon in one turn, you move your little counter up, and that's by having 4 nitrogen when you photosynthesize will get you 6 carbon. This one is each time you place your little seedling, it's on a different vertical. So I just placed that one on my 4th. I'll show you over here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. So each time it's on a different vertical, I get to move it along. And at the end of the game, depending where I land here, I will get bonus points. And this one is if you have a full-size tree touching at least 2 mushrooms that ready a token. And that's like this mushroom here. When they're doing this, you're readying a token. And that's the basics to how each of the actions, how you use each of the actions in Undergrove. There's also a solo mode to the game, and you have a solo deck that has an A and B deck, and you shuffle each one individually and stack them here. You play as brown and tan, but it only takes 1 action. The solo deck goes, then you go solo you. All you do is you turn it over. First thing it's going to do is say add a mushroom above this mushroom type. So here at the very top we have that mushroom type. We just turn over and add a mushroom. Then it wants you to take all carbon from this mushroom type that's furthest on the left. So if we look for the one furthest on the left, here it is. There's 2, but the one at the top. So we're going to take this carbon, and the tan took it. So we put it on the tan, and then the tan token would move up on the track, the carbon track that I showed you earlier. And that would be that turn. Then you would go, we'll turn over another one, see? This one, the tan wants to add a tree at the top of that type of mushroom. So maybe we'll put it here. And then we are adding a carbon to the top of that type of mushroom. So we will put a carbon here, even though typically this one wouldn't take a carbon because of the card wheel, just put one here anyway. And you would just work your way through the deck like that. Then there's also cards that they don't take an action, and you would just go again. So I found this solo play, it wasn't too bad. They don't have you doing too much thinking, which is good. You're just placing things exactly where the cards are telling you and moving them along. The only thing I found with it is because they're constantly taking carbon, it was more of a race, because when you're playing against them, they're constantly moving their way up. You'll get through most of the deck before one of them reaches the top. But whereas when you play with two people, you can spend a bit more time out on the board activating and adding and sort of watching each other move their way up. Whereas this deck, you're moving your way up the track, which means the end of the game. So you have to be a lot more concise with your turns when you're playing against the solo deck. I scored it against the easy mode and beat the solo deck, but if I had scored against the medium mode, I would not have beat it. But it's not so bad. You're just following the movements they're telling you to do, and then you go back to your turn. So overall, we enjoy playing Undergrove. And the first couple times that Jim and I played, it fried our brains. So once I played a few more times, it wasn't so bad. But I would call this about a medium weight strategy game. Now they do offer these quick sprout guides at the beginning for each of the players. And I highly recommend using these. It goes through all the actions and how they benefit you. The other thing I really like is just the theme of it. It really follows through with gaining the nutrients and spending the nutrients and getting more nutrients and photosynthesizing and getting your carbon. The whole theme follows through. And on top of that, there's just beautiful artwork on all of the tiles. Now, the one thing is you only have 9 spots on the carbon track. So I wanted to point out that there are some tiles like this where you flip your tile, you put 2 carbon, plus you pay a nutrient. However, you can absorb the 2 carbons from here. And so you can get 2 carbons in 1 turn when you have these tiles. So those are some really great tiles to use as well. Now, when it says pay to move them, what you can do is pay a nutrient to move 1 carbon, 1 tile, and to add. So if you already had this tree full, but I had a sapling here, I could move them here and absorb them over onto another tree. One final thing I want to mention of things we like are all the different types of bonuses you can get when you activate, such as getting that 2 carbon, getting 4 different nutrients, getting bonuses to place extra roots down. All these bonuses and that will add. However, with that being said, there could be bonuses here. And the first time I played, I used a lot of these bonus tiles, not realizing none of them absorb carbon. And so in the end, I wasn't able to put carbon onto my tiles, and therefore I wasn't able to gain points. So you have to keep that too as sort of a negative, that as nice as these bonus tiles are, they don't produce carbon. And then one other thing is there are some tiles like this where you only get points if you place one of your nutrients onto it. So you're given 3 and it's up to you to decide how many you want to keep and how many you want to place here. If you activate this 4 times, you could place 1 each time, and that would get you a total of 5 points. But it's up to you. If you decide you're keeping all this, well, in the end, you won't get any of the points. So these are things to keep in mind when you're playing. That carbon on your tree is what gets you the points at the end of the game. So even if during the game you have this great game and you got all this stuff and placed all this stuff, if you don't have carbon on the trees or upgraded them to have little trees, you're not going to win the game. But as I said, overall, it's a fun game, but it does have more strategy than it might appear. I'd say medium weight. So it's a really good game if you want to really think through what you're doing. So let me know if you've played Undergrove and what you think of the game.